serves as Group General Manager at Rasayu Group, Pune, where he has driven both GMP and NABH accreditation. Mr. Ayub Khwaja.
The biggest mistake the boards make is to focus on the growth before actually understanding the risk involved in that particular growth.
The one thing a plant head should always tell the board but almost never does.
When you are dealing with people, you are dealing with relationships and events, there will always be some uncertainty that no plan can completely prevent it.
Hello everyone and welcome back to FaceTime with Leaders powered by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. I'm your host Tanay. Now most leaders pick a lane, FMCG or pharma, operations or strategy, industry or academia. Today's guest has refused to choose. With over 3 decades of hands-on work spanning consumer goods, pharmaceuticals, facility management and research, Mr. Ayub Khwaja has built the kind of cross-sector depth that most boardrooms simply don't have sitting at the table. Trained as an electrical engineer, he went further. A master's degree in industrial engineering from Goa University, an MBA, and over 15 published research papers in UGC and Scopus Index journals. He led operations at Professional Oral Care Products, a contract manufacturer for Colgate Palmolive India, and today serves as Group General Manager at Rasayu Group Pune, a 5-entity Ayurveda enterprise where he has driven both GMP and NABH accreditation. Joining us today is Mr. Ayub. Sir, first of all, a very warm welcome to the show. How are you?
Fine. Thank you so much, Tanaya, for this fine introduction. I'm really honored to be the part of this FaceTime with Leaders and grateful to the Director Institute, World Council of Directors, for this opportunity. I look forward to a meaningful discussion today.
Likewise, sir. So, you began in 1986 maintaining critical systems in a pharmaceutical manufacturing environment, a world governed by batch records, GMP, and zero tolerance for unplanned downtime. Looking back, how did starting your career at that intersection of engineering rigor and regulatory discipline set the foundation of how you've led operations across both pharma and FMCG?
Thank you so much. It's a very good question, Tanay. As you said, when I started my career in pharmaceutical industry in 1986, I felt like I entered into a very highly disciplined environment where the quality, safety, and reliability were extremely important. Very early on, I learned that success was not only about fixing the problem when they occurred, but it was about preventing them from happening in the very first place. So working with this critical manufacturing system, this taught me the importance of planning, maintenance, and attention to all detail. In pharma industry, every process has to be followed very carefully. And every activity must be documented. And every deviation has to be investigated thoroughly. This happened every time when I went into a shop floor. This helped me develop a strong sense of responsibility and discipline. One of the biggest lessons that I learned in this was the consistency. It is consistency, I believe, is the key to excellence. Good results do not come from the occasional efforts. They come from the strong systems and processes that work reliably every day on the shop floor. I also learned that technology alone cannot deliver success. What is important is the people. The people play a very equally important role. Even the best quality of equipment or the processes which are robust will not perform well unless the team is trained, the workers are motivated and aligned with the organizational goal. So moving into the FMCG was completely different experience then. Everything moved much faster. Consumer expectation kept changing and the market demand quick responsive behavior of the staff. But I soon realized that while the system has changed, the fundamentals was not changed. Long-term successes still remain the same. Delivering quality, operating efficiency, keeping the customer at the focus point, everything remains the same at the center point of this system. To tell you the truth today, Tanay, Those early years in pharmaceutical manufacturing laid the foundation to my entire career. FMCG taught me the value of quality, compliance, teamwork, the continuous improvement system. Most importantly, they showed me that sustainable success comes from building strong systems, developing capable people, and maintaining high standards every day.
That's indeed very true. So, what we learn initially, which is the basic principles, are some things that last throughout our lives, right?
Right. Yes, Tanay, that's important.
Sir, you've seen from the inside what it takes to sustain quality and compliance at volume when your single largest customer is also your single largest risk. Contract manufacturers in India's FMCG space often grow into principal dependency without a board level framework to manage it. What early warning signs should a board be watching for, and what governance structure actually works in that kind of concentrated revenue model?
Well, you see, Tanay, the biggest mistake the boards make is to focus on the growth before actually understanding the risk involved in that particular growth. So having few large customers can definitely fuel the growth itself, but from a governance perspective, the over-dependence on any single customer or a small group of customers increases the business risk and reduces reliance and durability. I will explain with this. In my experience, there are three early warnings and the signs that the board should watch very, very closely. The first one, when a single customer contributes to your revenue more than 50 to 60%, at that point, the business becomes very highly exposed to the decision over which it has very little or no control at all. Second thing is a similar risk arises when significant capital investments are driven by the requirements of one customer. Although this investment may strengthen the relationship and create growth opportunities, they can reduce the strategic flexibility and increase customer dependency. The third point is an organization should be cautious when management spends more time protecting customer relationships than building its own capabilities in innovation and competitive position. That often signals a shift from a healthy partnership to excessive dependency. From the governance perspective, you see, the solution is not to avoid large customers, but to manage the associated risk involved. So one more very, very important aspect is I would like to highlight here, Tanay, is the board should ensure to have a quarterly reviews of customer concentration of risk with clear visibility into revenue exposure and emerging dependencies. They should also look beyond high revenue and regular review customer-wise profitability because high revenue does not always translate into the healthy, what we call as returns. And also, Tanay, you see, equally important is having a diversification strategy with measurable targets and expanding the customer base, entering into new markets or developing new product categories. Finally, board should insist on business continuity planning. They should regularly ask, what happens if this customer reduces volumes, demands lower prices, or shift to another supplier, or take an exit altogether? So if those scenarios create a serious financial toxicity, then corrective action should begin very, very immediately or instantly. Ultimately, you see, Tanay, what I feel is a good governance is about looking beyond today's success and preparing for tomorrow's risk. Dependency of few customers often create a sense of comfort and stability in the short term. But if it left unchecked or if it left what you call as uncontrolled, it can become a source of vulnerability. Therefore, board should ensure that growth is not only strong but also robust and sustainable.
Yeah, very true, sir. Because growth is not just defined by what you achieve today, but what you lay out for the future generations.
Of course. Yes, Tanay, that's right.
So, FMCG and pharma manufacturing operate on repeatability, SOPs, batch records, regulatory audits. Now, the International Center Go operates on institutional trust and event by event delivery with no two cycles the same. When you moved from one to the other, where did your manufacturing instincts actually fail you first?
That's a very interesting question, Tanay, because it challenged some of my deep-rooted habits from manufacturing industry. In manufacturing, especially in pharma and in FMCG, I was trained to believe that if you maintain your system well, most problems can be prevented. Preventive maintenance is a perfect example of this. You follow a schedule, inspect equipment regularly, replace component before failure. The end result is operational stability, consistent performance, and minimal disruption. However, I quickly realized that people and events do not behave like machines. See, every event ought to have different organizers. They ought to have different speakers, different participants. Their expectations and success criteria is all different. Even when two events look similar on paper, the actual requirement could be completely different. Unlike a manufacturing plant where processes are designed to reduce the variation in the system, event management requires you to manage and adapt to the variation itself. The lesson wasn't planning is not important. It is planning is important. Preventive maintenance can reduce machine breakdowns. But when you are dealing with people, you are dealing with relationships and events, there will always be some uncertainty that no plan can completely prevent it. So the adjustment I had to make was moving from a mindset of controlling the outcomes of to the mindset of preparing for the opportunities or for the possibilities. Looking back, Tanay, it was a valuable lesson. It taught me that relationship is not about using the same approach everywhere or the same formula everywhere. Good systems are always important, but every environment is different. In manufacturing, success comes from consistency and standard processes. However, in the service industry, like as you mentioned, Goa International Center, success comes from the understanding people, adopting quickly, and responding to the changing situation and the demands of the situation. Then,
Yeah, I think a very big credit goes to you to actually help our audience also understand how very different this can be. Even though they're similar on the outside, the intrinsic working is very different. Okay, sir, now time for a quick fire round. A few quick questions, and all we request are quick answers. So, are you ready?
yes, correct.
Lovely. GMP audit or NABH accreditation? Which one keeps an operations head up at night and why?
According to me, Tanay, it should be GMP audit because a serious GMP observation can stop or completely sweep away your product release or impact regulatory compliance and damage customer trust almost immediately. Therefore, I feel GMP audit is on the top.
Yeah. One SOP that every Ayurveda manufacturer in India is still not taking seriously enough.
This is a good question. See, in the Ayurveda, basically, raw material traceability is the very important question which they are still lacking in. The quality of the finished product can never be better than the quality and authenticity of the ingredients that go into it. Therefore, raw material traceability is very, very important.
Yeah. You've published research on philosophy, Ayurveda, and the human soul. What does that intellectual life give you that an operations career alone wouldn't?
Yes, good question. Can I say operation teaches you how to make things work efficiently, but philosophy teaches you how to think deeply and make wiser decisions when there are no clear answers to any of this. So
Yeah,
therefore, these are two different branches.
yeah, very true. Contract manufacturing or in-house manufacturing? If you're building a mid-sized FMCG brand from scratch today, which model do you choose?
See, this is also a very crucial question. See, I would start with the contract manufacturing to conserve capital and gain speed. As the brand matures, I would build in-house capabilities in the areas that create competitive advantage. Yeah.
The one thing a plant head should always tell the board, but almost never does.
This is also a very crucial area. The plant is performing well today, but here are the risks that could affect the performance tomorrow. This is the thing that has to be presented to the board. Board need visibility into emerging risks, not just the current affairs and the current very goody-goody results. Yeah,
Great, sir. That was a quick fire round. Now back to the other questions.
right.
So, third party audits in Indian pharma have come under serious scrutiny. The WHO investigates post the Gambia incident revealed that regulatory filings and actual shop floor reality were not the same thing, and the CDSCO's own inspections found licensed manufacturers producing substandard batches at scale rather. Given that audit credibility is now, you know, a boardroom level risk and not just a quality team problem, what is the structural conversation Indian boards are avoiding when it comes to how manufacturing compliance is verified and reported upward?
Well, to answer this question, Tanay, I would like to mention that the board needs to ask whether compliance is influencing decision on the shop floor or simply appearing in reports presented in the board. In many organizations, board receive reports showing audit scores, regulatory observation, or CAPA status, compliance metrics. These are very, very important, of course, but they often tell the board has already happened or what is already discovered rather than what remains hidden. The real challenge is that the manufacturing compliance can gradually become a reporting exercise instead of risk management discipline. When production pressures, cost targets, delivery commitments, and compliance expectations coexist, there is always a risk that operational realities may not be truly reflected in the management report presented in the board. Therefore, board should move beyond asking, are we compliant? Then they should ask, how compliant are we that our compliance system will definitely identify the problems before these problems are identified by the regulatory authorities. That requires a different governance approach. Board should seek data on deviation. They should ask for the repeat observations, market complaints, product recalls, employee turnover in quality function, and the effectiveness of the corrective actions taken. So these indicators will often reveal more about the health of and the quality system than about successful audit outcomes. So another important aspect, Tanay, is creating an environment where quality concern can move upward without fear. This means in strong organizations, there are always whistleblowers. Employees feel responsible for reporting issues. On the other hand, in the very weak organization, people become more concerned about solving the problem rather than
Yeah,
reporting.
yeah,
Ultimately, compliance should not be viewed as a quality department responsibility alone, which normally happens. It is an enterprise-wide risk issue involving reputation, patient safety, customer trust, regulatory standing, and business continuity as a whole. Thus, the board's responsibility is not simply to ensure that audits are passed on. Its responsibility is to ensure that the organization maintain a culture where quality and regularity remains uncompromised even when nobody is watching. Correct.
very true. So, you've crossed industries that most leaders spend a lifetime in just one of FMCG, pharma, facility management, Ayurveda. What was the moment you decided formal governance education was the next necessary move, and what has Directors Institute added to that foundation?
Yes, this is, I know that this is a very good question because this is an interesting question because governance was not my starting point. It was a realization that came after decades of my operational experience. Throughout my career in FMCG, Tanai, pharmaceutical, healthcare, facility management, and Ayurveda was primarily focused on the execution or improving the operation, building teams, ensuring quality, and delivering results. Over time, however, I began to see that many organizational successes and failures were influenced not only by operational decisions, but also by the quality of governance behind those decisions taken in the boardroom. The turning point came when I recognized that leadership at the board level requires a different lens. Management focuses on running the business. However, Governance focuses on ensuring that the business is being run in the right way, with the right controls, and
Yes.
with long-term perspective. That realization motivated me to pursue formal governance education. I wanted to complement my operational experience with the deeper understanding of board responsibilities, the risk involved, stakeholders' interests, and ethical decision making. The Directors Institute added tremendous value by helping my transition from an shop floor orientation to a boardroom outlook. It provided structured insight into the governance framework, board dynamics, and emerging governance challenges in today's business environment. Most importantly, then I see in that is the reinforcement of this important lesson is the operational excellence can create success, but strong governance is what sustains success over the long term. The combination of practical industrial experience and governance education has given me a more holistic perspective of leadership and organizational custodianship and effective management system as a whole.
Thank you so much for those kind words, sir, and for all the information you've shared. Because a career that connects contract manufacturing standards at Colgate Palmolive to Ayurvedic healthcare delivery and layers research and lecturing on top of that does not happen by drift. It happens when someone is genuinely curious about why systems work and equally serious about making sure they do. That
Yes,
dual commitment to understanding and to execution is the thread that runs through everything that you have described today. So, thank you so much, sir.
yes, thanks so much.
For the board directors and senior leaders watching today, the next time your board receives a quality report or a compliance update, ask whether the person presenting it has actually ever stood on the factory floor when things went wrong. Because operational governance is not, just a support function. It is a board level conversation, and Mr. Ayub's career makes that case compellingly. This has been FaceTime with Leaders, powered by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors, and I'm your host, Taneol. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, lead with purpose, and of course, always have fun in your journey. Thank you so much.